What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Weekly Cheddar. Jake Shavink here with you guys, and I've seen some great news. As always, we'll be talking Packers. We'll be talking NFL Draft. We will be going through Q&A. The great news is Twitter comments are going to show up, which is really, really cool. I don't have to put this banner at the ground on this bottom anymore that says, comments from the artist formerly known as Twitter won't show up here. They do. If you're on, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, your comments show up now, which is really nice. Thank goodness we finally got here. But yeah, so again, we're going to follow the standard procedure for the most part. We're going to go through some Q&A stuff on Packers, on draft, whatever you want to discuss tonight. I do have mock draft ready to roll here for 7 rounds. I figured we could just get back to that. We haven't done one on this show in 2 weeks. The draft position has moved, so that should be fun. Picking 11th, it makes things a little more interesting for sure. There are a lot more possibilities. I think you kind of get locked into a DB at 20. I think it opens the door for some other positions. It's not impossible that they go that direction of an edge rusher. Maybe there's a tackle that falls to their spot. We've seen weirder things in the draft. Speaking of, though, I think we'll just start off with this as the folks come rolling in. Mock drafts are pointless. All right, see ya. We're doing one. Don't care. Bye. We're gonna be doing one anyway. So we'll be doing that for fun. It's just to get you guys familiarized with a lot of players in this upcoming draft. Obviously, I think the PFF simulator probably still has guys who are returning, but important news, of course, Olufashanu is officially in. He declared for the draft today, following a long line of players who have already declared. There's a lot that we're going to have to wait on, of course, from the 4 schools. Of course, we made the playoff, right? But we got a lot of the edge rushers are in, right? Latu's in, Chop Robinson, Jared Verse, right? 3 guys who are pretty much locked into the first. I think Robinson's not maybe everybody's cup of tea, but I don't think it matters. The testing is going to push him into the first anyway. Then you have Alt. Joe Alt will be in there. He declared either a week or 2 ago, and obviously Olufashanu today. So that's fine. Yeah, so there's a lot there. Obviously, Drake May declared. There's a lot of running backs who are already in, right? Braylon Allen and you got Trey Benson going in. So there's a lot going on here. As we sort of get to that part of the season, which is really fun. Draft season is ready to roll. Yeah, Adam, I agree. There's a lot of interesting numbers still guys on the PFF lists, including I think Beck is still on there, and Sanders might be on there too, which is kind of crazy to think about. So yeah, there's still some issues to iron out with that PFF simulator, but there's a lot of players that you got your eyes on. The Senior Bowl guys, they'll all be rolling. Yeah, I think Luce is still on there, which I don't think after the injury he had any chance of declaring. So yeah, but some really fun names out there. Even a tight end without Lachey in this class. Theo Johnson going down to the Senior Bowl, I think, is really exciting. And yeah, there's going to be, the Fuaga Latu matchup is going to be really, really good. I can't wait for that. Hopefully those 2 guys stay committed down there in Mobile. I think that's going to be one of the best matchups. I think you're going to see pretty much everybody tuned in there, which is fun. But yeah, Olufashanu, I think, with him declaring, you're looking at probably, I think Washington's probably the first conversation for Fashanu. For the most part, I think you could 100%, talk me into the Giants at 6 being the case. I think the Bears are probably going to roll with their group for sure. That should be interesting. I think that means that you're going to see them probably either be on QB, be on receiver, you be on edge rusher. Maybe they're in on defensive line, but I don't think there's anybody necessarily at the top of the board. I know you're just saying, but man, did you need to say it? I don't think you did, but whatever. You do you, of course. But we're doing us here, so we're getting ahead of everybody else. If you want to wait, that's fine. We'll be ahead of the curve a little bit. I'm totally fine with doing that. Adam says would be surprised if Lachey declared. I agree. That's fine too. But yeah, there are players who are in the Senior Bowl already, and we'll be talking about them. So there you go. Green Gold Draft Report. Appreciate you dropping in. So interested in comparing our top prospects tonight, Jake? Yeah, I'm interested. I actually thought you were this person. I thought you two were the same, to be honest. Initially. But yeah, I think, it'll be fun to kind of talk about where we have some guys ranked. I think it'll be cool. Yeah, I can't wait. Should be fun. Glad you're here. Green and Gold Draft Report. Adam what says more tackles or quarterbacks round one. I think it'll be tackle. I don't imagine that we'll see more than 4 quarterbacks go in the first. I know a lot of people are going to be shocked that thinking that, oh wow, Penix, would he not be a first round pick? I just imagine with the age and all the injuries and all of that. And I think, it got to a point where he looked kind of scattershot when we were working down the stretch for Washington as they were trying to keep winning games, put themselves into the playoff conversation. I think that's, where, I think it kind of fell off a little bit. But again, teams are going to be well on the injury stuff, and it just feels like it's more likely that you see a team that's sitting in the second round that didn't make the move at QB, right? You have, Washington obviously sitting there with picks 36 and 37. So if they're not overly thrilled with a QB in the top 5, they could maybe swing it like Penix or Nix, but I think it's going to be McCarthy as the 4th QB. It's probably going to be in like the teens of the 20s. I agree. I don't think you do. I just thought he made that account made comments that he had work on other sites, and I thought you did your own work, so I thought that's who that was. That was the comparison there. But anyway, Adam says, guess it'll depend on if McCarthy declares. It's going to be a big one. He's a young guy, a lot of physical traits. He's like 21, not even 21 and a half years old at this point. Someone could go the Jordan Love route with a JJ McCarthy and just kind of like, all right, we're not playing you now. We're going to sit back. We'll chill a little bit. Maybe it's Minnesota and they bring Cousins back. I'm not saying, just saying. Maybe it's Detroit. Maybe it's Tampa Bay, right? They make the playoffs. They're still fine with Baker, but they know that they have to get to a point where they have somebody at a longer term. That's very possible. Oh, man, I don't think anybody else is going to necessarily season him there. I don't see a lot of names unless, like you talk about, like Atlanta somehow brings somebody else in and they let him sit. But we'll see with McCarthy. I think it's going to be a lot of teams do need QB. I think they're going to be some guys on the move, right? I think if the Bears are looking at QB, they're moving Fields. I think that means Atlanta's interested. Pittsburgh's interested. Pittsburgh's really the wild card for the most part of the QB position. If they're like just not there with Kenny Pickett, which I'm not sure they should be at this point. I know they have other issues, right, with that offense. However, I do think they're probably in the mix. They're going to be in the mix for Fields, right? Washington, the Giants, probably 2 other teams that should be in the mix. But we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun waiting on the McCarthy declaration. And it's going to be interesting to see if Daniels, Nix, and Penix all decide, yeah, we're going down to the Senior Bowl, because there are still a lot of spots open at quarterback. So Freddie Roper says, I'm just praying Troy Franklin gets drafted by the Packers. We'll see if they go receiver. I know we were talking about it. I was talking about it Derailed with JJ and Ryan earlier this week, and JJ brought up a good point. Like, if Watson's hurt enough to where, like, he can't stay on the field, then I think it gets interesting. Gosh dang it, this stinking volume. I swear. Only StreamYard does this. Did it again. I think you get to a point where you have to have more speed on the roster. I know people like Toure. That's fine. I'm not in there at all to this point. I don't think you should be banking on, second-year guy in the 7th round who really hasn't shown you a whole lot. I think they might be looking to add speed somewhere else, and there are guys like Troy Franklin who definitely check that box. But JJ to the Jets would be wild. I think you more look at like Jaden Daniels even to that Jets team, but McCarthy, if they win a couple games, I think that the Jets right now, Adam, they're trending into a position where they're going to be in on Alton Fashanu and should be in on Alton Fashanu, no matter what. Like I know, again, tackles at the top. There's no guarantee, right? Evan Neal's not played well. He was a top 7 pick. Ike Ekwonu has not played well. He was picked 6th overall. But like the process is going to tell you, like a Joe Alta Fashanu potentially immediately helps your offensive line. So that's where I would say, when you're looking at the Jets, there's going to be a point if they get far back enough where QB might be the best available for them. But at some point, they got to fix that O-line. Like there's just way too much going on there. So Green and Gold Draft Report back on here says Penix is a mid-3rd round grade for me. Left-handed with a really funky motion and release. He's interesting because, like I said, I think there are just games where he is precise and everything is clicking. And then there are games where he looks a little flustered. We're seeing the inaccuracies everywhere. He just doesn't look at they're just the roller coaster of precision and lack of precision as a passer is very strange. Also, Green and Gold Draft Report, I do appreciate the $5 dono. That was very generous. And it's nice to have you on chatting in the comments. Freddie says Fields to the Falcons will be dangerous. Yeah, especially if they get the right coach. I just don't. Arthur Smith, he's weird. He has, and I know he's trying to adjust and tailor game plans, but at some point, like you have a good player in Drake London that you don't have to spam him necessarily, but there are plenty of times where he's open. You can get chunk plays from him, and you're just not going to him enough. Pitts is strange because he's not quite playing to the potential we saw him play at as a rookie. But you have Bijan that you should be moving around. Like you can create a lot more of a positionless offense if you move these guys out. Like Bijan can play the slot. Like there's so much that he can do that they're not letting him do. And I get it. He fumbled, and it's tough to look at that and go, okay, well, if he's fumbling, he's not giving us the best chance to win. We need to throw a guy out there. But Algier just doesn't have the juice. So they should be kind of taking their warts. They don't have the QB though. This is it right here. Like if Fields goes there and they get Bieniemy from Washington, boy, it might be time to cook down there. Like there is a chance like Bieniemy doesn't take this Washington job. I think Rivera's getting fired. Bieniemy says, look at all these guys that I could have down in Atlanta. They have, I think, where does Atlanta pick? I thought they might have 2 seconds. 42. They don't. I thought they had 2 seconds. It's not correct, I guess. Yeah, but I think receivers obviously on their radar as well. But they could be really dangerous if they get the right coach and the right quarterback in there. Adam says, agree on tackle the Jets. It would just be hilarious. It would be definitely hilarious if they took QB. Probably don't think they'll be in the top 10. Yeah, they won't. And I think being in the top 10 is a huge deal. If you're gonna be competing with what Rodgers said is gonna potentially be the next 2 years. We'll see how that goes. But it also gets you in a great position to get a blue chipper at some other position. They could be in on Malik Neighbors. Like that would not shock me one bit if they went that route and they paired Neighbors with Wilson. The problem with the Jets is there is no excuse for trotting out a similar offensive line room next year on that MetLife turf with a 40-year-old quarterback. They just cannot do it. And I know free agency will give them some options, but like, I don't know if there's going to be better options than a Joe Alt, right? Than a Fashanu. So it's the Jets are going to be one of the most interesting teams to watch this offseason because they're in such a unique spot, and they know what they need to fill. But Douglas has often opted for other positions instead of offensive line. It's kind of costing him right now. So Adam also asks, isn't a major part of the Arthur Smith system is that he doesn't need a top-tier QB? Yeah, I mean, that's certainly part of it, but at some point you need to have consistent, competent play. And Ritter just hasn't done that yet. Heineke hasn't done that. They need something. They need something else. But I just don't think, to me, Arthur Smith I mean, this is 7-10, 3 years in a row. If they go 1-2 to finish the season, which they have, let's see, they've got. I don't remember who they have. I think they have the Saints the last week of the season. They could lose that game. They could lose to the Colts. They could lose to the Bears. Like they could be 6-11. He might be done. And I think with Bieniemy, I think it gets really interesting going from there to see what Atlanta would do at QB, because I think they have to make an adjustment at this point. It was really fun with Arthur Smith could spam the run, and they were finding ways to win. The finding ways to win phase should be done. Right? Like that phase for this team, this Falcons team should be over by now. Right? You've got the London, the Pitts, the Bijan in your room. You know, you bring in Jesse Bates to be that high priority free agent that's going to make impact plays, and he's done so. With this division, there should be no more like, oh, look at this win we pulled out somehow. No. This is the phase the Falcons should be in right now. Is 10-7 is the minimum, and the maximum is winning a playoff game. And you keep stepping, and you take your steps from there. Atlanta hasn't done that. They haven't done it, and they got to figure that out. So, Adam says interested to see how GM Rodgers spends the Jets' money. Man, if they go after Devontae, they're insane. They're just insane. They don't have a lot of capital to part with. Are they going to part with the one, knowing they get Devontae, and then they pick what? Like, I think they pick like 71st right now is where they pick in the third round. It's just not a great recipe. I get the all-in strategy, right? It worked for the Rams, but you still have to. What the Rams are doing and why they're back on track a little bit is because they're hitting on day 2 and day 3. Jets are going to have to do that. O-line's going to come off the board quick. We've seen the product at offensive line to this point. Like, oh, man. It's like, it's not good. And so, like, to Adam's question earlier, tackles are going to fly off. I don't imagine we'll see. And again, Graham Barton from Duke probably don't count. But I think a Patrick Paul could rise into the first very easily. He'll show it down there at the Senior Bowl. Kingsley Suamataia, who declared as well. Yeah, I think he's got a lot. He's brimming with so much potential. Amarius Mims, we're going to wait on that declaration, right? Like that felt like, okay, if he goes, then we have a major group going on at offensive line. And Jordan Morgan's interesting. Would he go in the first? Probably not, but it's going to be a frenzy right now. Mitch, I agree. Mitch says bet all offensive coordinators say that during their interviews. Yeah, I think so. It's probably like, yeah, we can field if you get a competent QB, we can field the offense. Listen, Shanahan is the one right now. Shanahan is the guy who can literally say that and back it up. So, and like Purdy's playing well, but to get that out of a 7th round pick is madness. Like most people could not do that, and they saved themselves with the Trey Lance thing. So a lot of OCs are going to say that, but you have to develop your QB, and just Atlanta has not quite done that. So, Green Gold draft board back. Agree on Atlanta and Smith when they drafted Bijan. I predicted they dominated the South. It looked like that way, right? Like it looked like, okay, offensive pieces are good, right? For the most part, there wasn't a lot of receiver depth, but there was receiver talent at the top. They bring in Jonnu Smith, another pass catcher who can, who has familiarity with the system, right? They bring that in. They, like I said, they get their Jesse Bates. They give Jeff Okudah another try. Like I kind of liked that move. Grady Jarrett going down definitely hurt them. They bring in Calais Campbell. Like that's a signing. That's a signing where you go, okay, we're ready to kind of push some chips in here with a Calais Campbell. And they had so many opportunities to go win the South, and they didn't. I thought they would too. I thought this was a 10-7 football team with the schedule they had. Obviously playing 6 games in the NFC South, that should yield you 4 or 5 wins. And it just hasn't materialized. And I'm very surprised about that. Adam says Oklahoma tackle going round 1 after testing. Yeah, Tyler Guyton, there's a lot of excitement around him. I forget if he's like slightly bigger than what the Packers normally look at. I think he is. He's slightly bigger than what Green Bay likes at offensive line, for sure. So could he? Potentially, it's possible. Like I wouldn't rule anything out. I maybe was a little bit harsh on our friend earlier where he said, mock drafts are pointless. Again, mock drafts are the experiment and the fun. Obviously, guys are going to rise at the combine, but there is a way to kind of predict that, right? If you're ahead on a lot of these players, you can kind of like look and be like, okay, the testing is going to be off the charts. And I think there were a few that were on that with Trayvon Walker. Like, okay, Trayvon Walker, you watch him drop into coverage against Florida, tip the ball, right? That leads to a pick six. And you go, holy smokes, like this dude can change direction. He's explosive. He's got the length. He's got the size. Like he's going to go just dominate the combine. He does, shoots himself to the first overall pick like that. But you can see that sometimes when you're watching all these guys in the fall and you can kind of predict this rise. So like Tyler Guyton is a great example here. He's another one who, just slipped the mind. There's so many tackles where it's like round one is a possibility with him because of how good of an athlete he is at the position right now. There's going to be a lot of good athletes at offensive line this go round. All should be really, really good. He looks so smooth. Fuaga's really quick. Very interested to see how he does in some of the agilities. So there's a lot going on with the tackle class that I think is really, really exciting. But again, we see this. So with the combine, yes, it's nice to confirm the numbers, but we've got some there are measurements out there because some guys do the pro day stuff. And so you have like, oh, they did this at the pro day. Is it a little inflated? Sure. But it gives you an idea. Brian W says, hey, Jake, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too, Brian. My favorites for D coordinator run the 4-3. I would love it because our strength is D line. What's your take? Yeah, if they get a little more disciplined at defensive tackle, I think it makes sense. I think the 4-3 benefits Lucas Van Ness, who I think just struggles a little bit right now, rushing from an upright stance, running the 2-point. Like it just seems like he needs to be in that 3-point stance. He needs his hand in the dirt. He needs that explosive first step, which he showed at Iowa. They're giving him more opportunities to do that now. They've done so in the last few weeks, and that's a good sign. That's been kind of getting him back in rhythm to what he knows best. So the 4-3 obviously would, I think, benefit Van Ness. I don't think it hurts Gary necessarily at all. Shouldn't hurt Preston, right? So now it's about finding, okay, what is that kind of Sam linebacker rush end position going to look like? Well, maybe look at a Dallas Turner. Maybe look at Edgerrin Cooper that can blitz and play the like. So it does give you an interesting, setup where one of the linebacker positions becomes a little more interesting. You can get into 5-man defensive lines still where you have like sort of that designated pass rusher who can get after the QB. Maybe that's Enagbare to them. But that's going to be a fun offseason at defensive coordinator because they have certain types in the room right now on the defensive line that are young. I don't think they're going to completely pivot unless they believe that, okay, the assignments for a Gary, for a Preston, for a Van Ness, they're going to be able to do what we want to do with X, Y, and Z in this 4-3. Can we get the best out of them there? Yes. All right. What does that mean for Quay Walker? What does that mean for the safeties, the corners? So they have to kind of take a look at this in the offseason right away and be like, okay, are we going to make a shift? If we're going to make the shift, can we handle it with the personnel we have? Because I don't think they're going to tear it down in one offseason and completely go, okay, well, you know what? We're going to have to trade Van Ness away. We're going to trade all these guys away. Like we're going to have to, make drastic changes, which is why I wonder if they're just going to stick with it and potentially just bring in Brandon Staley to be the defensive coordinator because the personnel works with what he wants to run in a lot of ways, right? They can get 5-man down because they have TJ Slayton who can kind of clog up the running holes and then they can get really interesting on passing downs because they have a lot of versatile players. So like everything kind of makes sense in that degree of staying with the 3-4, but we'll see. We'll see. I think it's not impossible that they can make the switch because there is enough athleticism and size at the edge rusher position to make that change. What's going on, Chris? Good to see you. Good to see you on this Friday. Green and Gold Draft Report says still a lot of evaluations to go through, but 5 offensive tackles in the first is very possible. 5 QBs as well. Who's your 5th QB that would go? I'm interested in that. Because to me, it's got to be like Penix or Nix, and I just don't quite see it with Nix. Maybe he goes and wows at the Senior Bowl, and like someone, it only takes one, of course, to make that fifth QB go. I'm just trying to figure out who it's going to be. But I think 5 offensive tackles, very doable, because I think you're going to get, I think, at least Fashanu, Alt, Fuaga, and probably still Latham, as long as he goes. So I think Latham has shown a little bit more in terms of like that Georgia game was really good for him. You saw him with the linear explosiveness. You saw him get to better landmarks in the run game. You saw him finish with power, right? He's got a good kick slide. We've seen that the last 2 years. So those 4 feel kind of locked in. If Graham Barton goes in the first, it probably doesn't count. Fatanu from Washington is the one where for some teams it's going to be tackle. For others, it might be guard. Brian Maffey, who is here, would consider Fatanu a guard for Green Bay. He's probably right in that regard. Someone else probably sees him as a tackle, and they go, okay, this guy's playing left tackle at a really high level in pass protection. We're good with him a tackle. So I think you can get to 5 pretty quickly. QBs is the tough one. Okay, so you do say Bo Nix. Okay, not impossible. I don't quite see it yet because I think you've seen he's going to have to speed up the process for 1, and for 2, he's in that weird like Zach Wilson range where you go, okay, this guy was not blitzed a lot at all at Oregon. His snaps against the blitz have been and pressure have been pretty good. He just hasn't faced a lot of it. So that's going to be an interesting kind of thing to dive into. You know, what does he look like under pressure? What does he look like when blitzed? You know, PFF can throw out their grades. It's always nice to see what's happening and what decision making is happening in that, in that scenario. What's a 4-3 system that plays a lot of man, does some creative blitzes? Does that exist? And Mitch comes in with a yes, Buddy Ryan's defense. That's fun. Hey, we can bring it back. We'll get cyclical a little bit here, but we'll see. I got to dive into more of the defensive coordinators and what they look. I know Green Gold Draft Report is in on Jesse Minter from Michigan, who I would love to look at more as well. Adam also says, boo Brandon Staley better than Joe. Would love more juice than what Staley brings. Yeah, that's understandable. I think I know that a lot of Packers fans are just very out on the idea of playing, all right, we'll give up the short stuff. We'll make them walk down 14, 15 plays. I think the question is do you have, the personnel on the back end to handle things in coverage with the principles that are going to be dictated there? That's going to be, that's the question. And I think that's where you have to look at this team and you go, okay, Green Bay right now, what do they need? DBs, probably 3. Just let's get 3 more in the room, right? So that's where I think it starts. I think you get 3 DBs there. We'll see if they go more run defending type at interior defensive line. I'm iffy there because I think they probably feel like they like what they have. Kenny Clark probably sticks around, but we'll see. Mitch says, I agree that Van Ness has gotten out of position, but what he does, he usually hustles. Yeah, no, he's a great hustler. He is still a wrecking ball. There are like 2 things with Van Ness right now. One is he's not comfortable rushing upright right now. He is not comfortable in the 2-point stance. You see him kind of like do a gather step a lot of the time. It's either with the back foot or the front foot. It's one of the 2. He sort of gathers himself and then he goes. And the problem is he's upright enough where he has to then get back down. And so to get good positioning at contact, right, in the contact phase of the rush. And then from the 3-point stance, there are just times where the first step is not as good, as explosive, as is covering enough ground as you want him to cover up. Those are the 2 things that I think he has to work on. I think he has so many tools to work with. You see him getting to some good stuff at contact with the rip to get underneath, right, and kind of flatten his route a little bit and kind of trim that edge to the point where he can kind of sort of collapse once he turns. He's never going to be the guy who's going to be flexible around the edge, right, 7 yards, 8 yards down and can still get back. So he has to develop more, right? We kind of knew this, though, coming in. And so with Van Ness, it's going to take more time. I think people have seen it the last few weeks and they go, yeah, the pressure rate's been better. Well, first off, it's because he's in the 3-point stance instead of the 2. If you watch, I have it here. If you watch like before, I think after the Pittsburgh game, you watch, so sit down and watch him the first 10 weeks of the season or the first 9 games. Watch him be in the 2-point a ton. By the Charger game, they started saying, okay, we're getting him in the 3-point because it's better for him right now. So, yeah. So that's where I'd say we're at it with Van Ness. Brian Maffey says Knicks also needs to show he can go through 3-level progressions. And he also says Kawana would cry tears of joy if they hired Minter. If they hired Minter, grabbed Chris Jenkins, grabbed Corum, like Kawana's going to be over the moon. So, FYI, this is good from Green Gold Draft Board. Domofsky says no way Staley even gets interviewed. That's interesting. Sounds like him and Staley do not get along. Huh. I don't know. That's interesting. So maybe we'll see. But there's still going to be somebody who is going to have similar principles to Barry and believes that he has an extra level of motivation or just has some extra level of, like, I don't know, commitment and drive to the point where he's going to bring out the best in the defense. We'll see. I don't know. I know that the talk about Jim Leonard is not going away. That name will not go away. After that, I don't think, obviously, I think Saleh would be excellent, but I don't think he's getting fired. Right? Rodgers has kind of full grip right now on the organization, and I don't think any of his guys are going anywhere, unless, of course, the players say they want to be done. Lazard being a healthy scratch is not good, but I don't think Saleh goes anywhere. Adam says he would really like a younger coach or an ex-player, thinks that personality is what the defense needs. Well, yeah, I mean, it would have been really excellent to have a D'Amico Ryans type. I think it's just like Gerard Mayo would be interesting, but I think he's getting the Patriots job when Belichick walks. So I want to have this younger coach, ex-player, to have a pretty significant number of seasons under their belt before I'm going, yeah, let's grab him here. That's the Al Harris conundrum with me. Like, he is still coming into his own as a defensive backs coach. I do not want to make him a defensive coordinator right away. I know there's risk in that, and I know that sometimes it pays off with reward, but it's not something I'm doing right now. So he did play some defensive tackle. He did, shade the one a little bit, but he was at his best, I think, when he is 5-tech rushing. He's got his hand in the dirt, and he can just explode off the line. Good body positioning at contact phase, and just put the bull rush in, add a few more moves with some power, use that length to his advantage. I think he can get there. And it's still gonna take time, though, and that's why obviously he's not a starter at this point. They do this at edge rusher all the time. Let's be proactive, and it has usually worked out. Brian W says Mike Renner has Knicks as his 7th best player in the draft. Few mistakes, quick decisions, extends plays. 60 starts is a big deal. I know. Who used to say it? I don't remember if it was Parcells used to say it or not, but like QB starts was a big deal to him. I think it's Parcells. It might not be, but some coach said amount of starts was a big deal to them. It is what it is. Yeah, you usually see a lot of the inexperienced starters with less than 20 starts not pan out. That gets you, okay, so it was Parcells. There you go. Okay. I thought so, Adam, but I wasn't positive. Because I've had that reference in my head. I can never remember who said it. But I think it's something like 30. I think there's a number of wins that they want to have on there as well, is what it is. But he does make a few mistakes. Knicks has gotten a lot better every year, and I think you've seen him take those strides. It's really nice. My concern is that he doesn't have the changeup right now, right? He can definitely throw stuff on a line really well. He's got a good deep ball when he has time, when he can step in. And I think that when he's kept clean, he can kind of just, he's like you said, he's risk averse. There's just something still missing to me. And part of it's, I think, the changeup, part of it's middle of field. I think the other part is that just, again, we haven't seen him a lot with pressure, and there's just some things that I worry about with pressure. I still think he kind of does still take some chances. He's limited those a little bit more this past year, but he still kind of takes these weird chances that I'm not always thrilled with. Brian says Brenner always has some weird takes. There are a lot of people who have weird takes, there's no doubt. I prefer the guys who back their own a little bit over just like playing the consensus game, because you can play the consensus game and just write up guys and be very nonchalant about the rankings. I would prefer guys probably to be out there a little bit more and just stand on it. Why do you think so? Because I think there was somebody who had Jalen Hurts as like the second or third best player in the entire draft his year. Is he the second or third best player in the draft? Probably not, but to have him that high, I think with production metrics, like it's worked out like to point where he is a hit. I know there's things he has to work on, but I do think there are still consensus isn't always correct. There's no doubt about it. So I think you follow your gut and you learn from what you discover and what transpires when they reach the NFL. There you go. Green and Gold Draftport says that remember the words of LaFleur in the off-season preseason, want aggressive play style. Yeah, that could be the Fangio philosophy is done. In that case, I think it definitely opens the door. But my issue then becomes that the slot position, the slot corner, whatever you want to call it, in the next defense is important, and they can't just throw anybody out there. They cannot just throw anybody out there, and that's the concern I have. One of the biggest ones, other than they don't have combo players on the defensive line that are really good on 3 downs. They got guys great for the later downs. They got to find an early down guy. It doesn't have to be, Tavondre Sweat at 6'4", 362. It can be somebody else. They got to find more stability there. So that'll be all right. Adam says Nick screams a guy that the NFL loves, tough football family. Yeah, I mean, I think there is something to the idea of, growing and developing, right? And Jalen Hurts just brought him up. A great example of that. Like, it just took some time. Second round pick, and he's doing well in Philly. So it's possible that he is the 5th QB. I just think right now you're looking at Caleb May in the top 5. Maybe Daniels gets in the top 5, but he's more top 5 to top 10 area. And you look at McCarthy, who's teens and 20s. After that, because again, Bo Nix is also, I think, like 23, 24, where it's like, okay, haven't quite figured it out to this point. Can you consistently figure it out in the league? But Bo Nix will be the one where, he could make money at the Senior Bowl. There's no doubt. Mitch says, since the Packers have 5 early picks, who would be a luxury pick you think the Packers could make? Luxury pick the Packers could make. Well, they're not going. My fun answer is if Malik Neighbors is available in the top 10 and they're picking in the top 10, that they just go that route. So I want to say it's because like Bowers would be a luxury pick that they would probably be potentially interested in too. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what the luxury pick really is. I mean, Tavondre Sweat would definitely be a luxury pick, but it's just not something that they often do. Oh man, the luxury pick. Potentially like going a second safety would be a luxury in the top because they don't scream to me the team that would draft 2 safeties high, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. If they go like a DeJean route and they get somebody like Rod Moore from Michigan, the safety later, like if they did that and they're like, okay, yeah, we're going to play, DeJean at slot safety, let him do both. I think that a second safety in the first 5 would be a luxury selection. Because I'm not sure there's a whole lot else where I go that's luxury other than receiver, tight end, right? Like I don't think, to me, interior defensive line isn't necessarily a luxury selection for them because I think they need somebody who can defend the run really well, like a Chris Jenkins, Tavondre Sweat, like Byron Murphy from Texas would be really, really fun there. I think he's got the skill set to be the top defensive lineman in the class from Texas. He might be better than Newton, honestly. It's going to be close for me. So those two, if you want to count defensive tackle, you can count defensive tackle. Other than that, like corner, safety, linebackers, maybe the one that you would maybe think is a luxury selection that I think they could make if they want to be more aggressive, if they're going to shift the defense a little bit. Get yourself an Edgerrin Cooper who can blitz, who can cover. You know, you have Walker who maybe is interchangeable to you, although I don't think he's been particularly effective as a blitzer this year. So maybe linebacker is the answer that you're looking for there, Mitch. Adam says, think no matter what Green Bay needs, another thick boy at defensive tackle. Yeah, I mean, I just don't know if they're going to do it with Tavondre Sweat, because I think Sweat's going to go pretty high at this point. I think top 40s feeling more and more like a lock to this point, and I know it's early, but, I mean, 4 months to go. I think he's going to turn heads in Mobile. As long as he tests relatively well, I think you're going to see, teams go, well, Texas didn't really take him off the field on third downs. They let him rush, and he was doing pretty well. So it's possible they go that direction. Knicks maybe 25 at draft time. It's just with Sweat, it's just not something they normally do. I know they drafted Slayton, but they've often, I mean, you saw it last draft. They grabbed a lot of guys who were more in that 300 to 310 range. And they even grabbed somebody like Wooden, who kind of weight fluctuated from 270 to 290. And like they kind of, went a little more undersized there. But we'll see. So Knicks, maybe he does sneak in. I'm just trying to figure out which team at the end of the first, unless it's, again, somebody trades up. Washington, right? They have 2 picks in the early second round. They can move up. So maybe that's possible. Brian W. says, Al Harris, Miami Dolphins coaching intern in 2012, Chiefs assistant, secondary defensive assistant from 2013 to 2018, Dallas Cowboys 2020 to present. That's pretty good. I just would like to see him be a passing game coordinator, I think, before that, because I think if you, add in a little bit more of like, okay, I'm teaching technique for certain coverages, which is good for my DBs, but I also want to be able to work on the entire shell and the backbone of an entire passing game coordination in terms of back 7, what the coverages look like, where everybody needs to be. I'm working with more than just my position group. I think that's where Al Harris needs to go next. And then I think you start considering him for a defensive coordinator. I would just want to see him be in that role first, to me. So I guess he's been coaching longer than I thought, which is good. But I think passing game coordinator is the next step for him. Norman Max says Packers. I assume he's saying Packers need good coaching on defense. I agree. That's something they're going to have to address this offseason. And I think it will be maybe more abundantly clear to LaFleur and everybody else if Bryce Young plays well on Sunday. As much as Adam says, as much as Green Bay loves the 3-cone, they should be able to find okay nickel. There are going to be some good ones. Sebastian Castro from Iowa is really one that I really like to this point. Like Malachi Moore is okay. Didn't have quite the year I was hoping. Wasn't terrible. Was solid. He's not quite Brian Branch, but he's interesting. Jahdae Barron from Texas is down at the Senior Bowl. He'll be one to watch for sure. I think they just got to get it right. They got to get the nickel position right, because you're seeing, let's just think about the conference in general. Okay, I think Philly is a team where they could go find a third receiver for themselves in this draft. And now you have somebody in the slot who's either a bully player with a ton of power, a ton of speed in A.J. Brown, a great separator, Devonta Smith, and then whoever else they add could be that third guy in the middle. The Rams are throwing Kupp in the slot. They're throwing Nakua in the slot, right? You have to be disciplined covering those guys. Amon-Ra St. Brown's in the slot, right? The Vikings moved Jefferson in there. They're going to get Addison some looks in there too. Like they can move that around. So there's so much going on there. They have to nail it. They have to. Green Gold Draft Report says his fun answer for the mid-first in terms of a luxury pick is Brock Bowers. I think that's the one. I really think that's the one that we'll be talking about. So, yeah, I like that. I think that's the one where I feel like if it's a luxury selection, that feels the most luxury. That and, like I said, receiver. But it just doesn't feel like they're going to be a receiver team early. But if they go receiver, I think somebody asked that, and that's my bad if I pass that up. I got to go back and just check really quick if I did pass that. So, oh, Freddie said Franklin gets picked by the Packers. That's right. He did say that. So we're 45 minutes in. We're chilling. How about we get to a mock, shall we? And we'll we'll throw some other stuff in there with you guys. But let's get to it. Let's have some fun here. Well, does a great nickel corner matter, says Mitch, if you play zone 70% of the time like Barry? Well, I think whether it's zone or it's match, your nickel needs to know a lot of different responsibilities. What you're doing with the number 2 in a formation, what you're doing with the number 3 if there's 3-by-1. If they're going to stick with a zone match defense and a little bit more than they run, a nickel that knows what he's doing at all times is important. Watch the Ravens with Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton knows where he needs to be on every play. He knows what his responsibilities are if X happens, if Y happens, if Z happens. Having a player like that helps a ton because they're involved in a lot of the screen game. They're involved in like making sure, these plays behind the line of scrimmage, this quick game doesn't result in big plays after the catch. It doesn't result in, guys running free. Depending on the route combination, he's making sure that again, his responsibility is his responsibility. And the more that 11 matters, which it still does to this point, and 11 personnel can mean quick slot receiver. It can mean, receiver with a ton of size who blocks his butt off, a.k.a. Puka Nacua. But it could mean a lot of things, right? There could be a lot of speed there. So there's so much that falls on the nickel that I think that the Packers were kind of like, we have this guy returns kicks. He can probably he played DB, so it should be fine. And like it just hasn't worked. Brian W's ready for the mock, so let's do it. Let's roll. Okay. So we are here. I don't think we're going to move. We're not going to trade. Nothing like that. Let's start it up. We'll be picking 11th. And so Drake May goes to the Giants. There you go. Fashanu, who we just talked about, declares. Harrison, the Patriots. Neighbors goes 3rd. I like Neighbors a lot. Exceptional player. Might be the best player in the draft, actually. Okay, so we've got some options. Obviously at 11, I think honestly, I think it's easier, I'll be honest, to pick in the 20s or at like 19 than it is to pick at 11 because the options are kind of endless. You could go a little undersized at defensive tackle with a guy like Jer'Zhan Newton. Kind of makes sense. You want to be aggressive. That's fine. I don't think they love the type that Roma Dunze is at receiver. It just doesn't scream like what they would do. However, if they want to go lighter at edge, Dallas Turner could be fun, right? That's obviously a fun pick there. Nate Wiggins, some may say best corner in the draft. Coverage grade's really good, right? Like getting better every year. You're seeing that, at least from a PFF perspective. A lot of good games against top talent. I'm going to say, this is a good question, actually. Brian says trade down to 16 or 17. I think we're just going to stick. We're going to pick guys because we want to get familiar with, and I think trading down to 16 or 17 still gets to the point of like where we go, okay, like these are the guys in the range. This is what they need. Like these are guys you could potentially be looking at. So we're going to stick and we're going to pick just because we have so many picks to make that we want to make sure that, we're going over all the possibilities. I would say, Adam, we're going to do more predictive than what we would do. We'll save what we would do mock. We'll save that. We'll save that down the line because I like the what we would do thing. I kind of did that last year. I don't know how many people saw that. I think Mitch was probably here and saw that. I did 2 mock drafts in one video for the Packers where I did it more fun, where it was like, okay, I'll just do this for fun and see what I can pick. And then it was more predictive. So we'll do the predictive one now, right? Just based on like positional needs for them. And then we'll maybe work on like what we would do later. Mitch says he doubts that Verse is still there. I think it's still possible. And I think this is a good point. I think Green and Gold Draft Report is probably on the same page with a lot of teams right now as Dallas Turner is the number 1 edge. Yes, he's a little smaller, but I think he has shown that he can defend the run a lot better, even at 240 pounds. So I think that becomes interesting, right? Like this is a better run defense grade. Like this is solid. Like it was not good a year ago, and the run stop rate's not great at 4.2%, at least from the metrics, but like true pass set pass rush grade is really good. With a win rate at 20% is insanely good. He's double-digit sacks this year. Like, I don't think there's a point where I went like, wow, Turner is and like Turner playing best ball when they need to have it, right? In those games, played a solid game against Tennessee, does so in this middle game stretch here. Didn't have a great game against Texas. I think that's one to kind of look back on and go, okay, what went wrong there? But like Turner, teams are going to love the traits, the flexibility, the burst to get around the edge, and the length and the leverage and the positioning that he plays with, low man wins type of stuff, and get off blocks in the run game. I think there's going to be so many teams lining up for him. Chargers at 8, maybe if they get rid of, a guy like Mack and they want to get a little bit lighter. I can't believe the Jets went Latu, but like Latu to me is the best pass rusher right now in the draft. Got a lot of size, but you could talk Dallas Turner could go to Chicago at 5. Very possible that they would look into that as well. So he's very possible he's the first one off, but there are other guys. And I think to the point of going, where was it? Doubt Verse is still there. It's possible. I think you're looking at Atlanta, right? For Verse, you're looking at the Chargers with Verse as well. So I think those are possibilities. So the pass rushers, they could go off pretty quickly in this range. But there you go. So yeah, Gringo Draft Report says he's got Turner as 1. Em says awesome, thanks. Yeah, we'll do the predictive mock. Let's save it for a couple weeks down the road when we really get all the declarations in, and we'll kind of just look at some of our preferences when people have watched some guys. We'll definitely do that. And Adam says he would love Jared Verse. I think it'd be very fun to have Jared Verse. The 4-3 front, yeah, I think even with the 3-4, where they are comfortable with guys dropping, a guy like Turner dropping into coverage, I think is totally fine, especially at like, where you at in terms of size. I think you get a lot of good athleticism there to turn, to, adjust in transition. That's the type of player that I would love to have. And this is a really fun opportunity. Like LVN in the hand in the dirt, Turner alongside him, right? They're getting, creative, exotic with the pressure looks. I think Turner in the like what we would do, I have a feeling is going to rank for a lot of us like really high and like, oh wow, that would be insanely fun. But yeah, let's keep rolling down here. So obviously Newton's still here. Fuaga is just somebody I'm just not sure the Packers are in on. I'm not sure the Packers are in on, even though the grades have been really, really exceptional for him. Like, I think he even graded out like really pretty good against, a good grade against UCLA, which is Gabriel Murphy, and it's Latu, who have been just pressure cookers all year long, right? So like they have been so good, and he was really good in that game. So again, it makes some sense, but this is the thing. I know he's a little bit lighter. I'm pretty sure Brian Maffey had his, I think the official, it might be more like 328. If I remember correctly with Fuaga, it just feels like he's a little bit bigger than what they like. And if he's a guard to them, they are not picking a guard at 11. That just doesn't, it's not their MO, right? Unless it's like this, unless Zach Martin, like you guarantee Hall of Fame, maybe they do it, but like it just doesn't seem very possible there. I don't think the Braylon Trice thing, Latham's in the same boat as Fuaga. DeJean is the one that I think you start the conversation. Obviously, Terrion Arnold, I think, belongs in that conversation as well. I'm very surprised that PFF put Ennis Rakestraw up this high. This run defense grade is good, right? And he's more in that slot. That would be really fun and interesting. So we'll kind of decide here a little bit. Brian says predictive is DeJean. Adam says, which cornerback is thought to be the best athlete? To me, I think it's probably going to be Terrion Arnold. I think it's probably going to be Arnold of the guys. And I don't think any of them are going to be bad athletes. I think Wiggins should be really, really strong in that regard. I think Gene obviously will crush it. I think McKinstry will do just fine. I think he'll be just fine. I don't know where McKinstry is anymore. I'm just going to scroll up here and get down to corner, and we'll see where he's at. Oh, he's gone. Moron. Wow. I'm stupid. I'm so dumb. He's freaking right here. Atlanta picked him already. Anyway, but Mitch says he'd rather have Kool-Aid than DeJean. I think this very possible Kool-Aid is available at pick 11. Omer, how's it going? Nice Joe Barry Santa hat, profile picture. Wants a run stuffer above all else. I don't think they're grabbing that here, but DeJean's versatility, sure tackling an Iowa guy's a lock with Goot, says Brian W. I agree. This is big, though. Of course, DeJean hasn't committed yet. This is true, but if he goes to the draft, there's your star for 10 years. I mean, and I think the instincts are really good at safety, right? Like, I think he can play safety, and then you can, add more depth to the safety position in the draft as we go along, and he can drop in a slot when you need him to. And that's going to be very valuable at helping add another body who can dominate defending the run, which is what he did last season a lot. And that's the thing with DeJean that I think is even more intriguing, probably to the Packers, is where you look at him and you go, okay, well, this isn't quite the year that we thought. 77, it's not bad, right? Everything's very solid. And then you look back at 22 and you go, my gosh, he just dominated because they moved him all over. They did. And he was really, really good everywhere. And the Packers go, okay, that 2022 season, we know we can get that out of him. Bam, and they pick him. Right? So Omer says need help with that back end and secondary, all undrafted free agents and 2 7th rounders. Yes, I think they're going to go 3 DBs at the very least in this draft, maybe 4. Adam says DeJean or Arnold feel the most predictive, and AFAM Ralph says we need a Kyle Hamilton type. Yeah, DeJean is probably the closest you're going to get, I think, in terms of as close to Hamilton. And Mitch, I am almost positive he will run that. I am almost positive he breaks that. To me, like when they have him at punt returner, that tells me they value the explosiveness that he provides at the position. So to me, I'm pretty sure he's going to run the 4.4s. I would be shocked if it's higher than 4.5. And it might be right on that line, but I think 4.45 to 4.48 is where you're going to get, and that'll work. Kool-Aid might be the fastest. I think Arnold's your best athlete. TJ Tampa at like 200 is going to run pretty quick too. But McKinstry might be your fastest. He's obviously gone. Everybody wants, and Adam says that DeJean or Arnold feels the most predictive. The last stud defensive player from Iowa recently. The last stud defensive player from Iowa is probably a lot easier to think of than I'm thinking of right now. But also, counter to this question is, when was the last time Texas Tech had a stud at QB? Mahomes walks in. When's the last time Wyoming had a stud QB? Nobody. Josh Allen walks in, right? Ohio State. Everybody laughed at Ohio State for a long time as, their QB stink. They can't get it done. And then Stroud walks in. All right, it took a while. Bama, why can't they be good in the league? Tua and Hurts walk in, say hello, how you doing? So, sure, Mike Daniels is a good shout, but I know that he's trying to speak of like elite players. I still think Daniels was a really, really good at what he did. But that's a good one, Bob Sanders. So the issue is at some point, all of these, like when the last player from this was good, they're going to get broken eventually. So to keep it on the helmet is and people are going to do that with Drake May, by the way. This is exactly going to happen with Drake May. They'll be like, Trubisky was bad. Don't take a quarterback from North Carolina. They're not good. And if Drake May's bad, they're going to continue to do it until there's one that works. So I want to land the stud, because when you look at DeJean, he is the stud. Again, I think you're going to get to a point where it's going to be DeJean, Arnold, going to be very much that conversation. Could they go edge? Sure. But I think we're going to roll with 2 stars for O-line and a running back, rest of capital to defense. Yeah, I think this is a good point by Omer, and I think that's where we're going to go. So Jack Campbell's finding a little bit in Detroit, and Van Ness could be that guy. Very, very possible. Yeah, we the helmet scouting, I know it's but we got to dive into each individual, like to pretend that every helmet is gray and you don't know who's who. Take them one player at a time. let's do it, folks. Let's grab Cooper DeJean. We're going to play him at safety, and we'll go from there. Let's take DeJean, and we got 4 more picks in the top 85, 90. All right. Guys, we have an opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time. Yeah, Mitch, we got it just individual, base by base, because there's going to be at some point a Bama receiver that doesn't pan out. Okay. I think the Ardarius Stewart was like a 3rd round pick for Bama, and it didn't work. Right. And Ohio State, I think, had Devin Smith go in the top 40 at least. Yeah, Cheddar is still here because there's no official. No, Brian. No, no, we're not doing that. Studs, Jack Eflin and Josh Jackson. There you go. That's pretty good. Luxury. This is what I was talking about right here. So this is it. This is it. This is the double down right here. If we want a luxury double down at safety, DeJean and Tyler Newman, Big Ten types at in the secondary. Holy smokes. So I will say on this, saying haven't seen a ton of film on Cooper. I think you're going to like more of 2022 when you watch him because they're moving him around. They're letting him play corner, but they're also letting him, be in the box, in the slot, playing some deep safety. They're moving him around, and he's excelling everywhere. I think he played fine this year at corner. I think it was solid, but I don't think it was excellent. And so I don't think full-time corner in the Packers defense is where they're going to want him. And it gives us the opportunity to go, okay, let's get best 5 DBs on the field, and wherever Cooper needs to be, we're going to have him be there. And I think that's a really, really nice thing to have. I don't know if the Green Gold Draft Part, if you're on Newman or if you're on Sanders, but yeah, this is a good point. Non-premium positions. I do think we're going to look at tackle here and kind of move away from that. So yeah, I think we're going to look elsewhere. Brian, I'm with you, man. I'm so in. We would do this. This is predictive though. So I think I know what we're going to do here. He's on the screen. It feels pretty obvious. There is some talk about him in the first. So we'll see. Yeah, this is it. No, 2 safeties first would be tough. And I think you can find an okay second safety elsewhere. Xavier McKinney, maybe we'll see how much money he could command as a free agent, but two corners is a little more premium than safeties. But I get this. We're countering. If the Packers are going to stay in more of the drop a lot of bodies into the passing game, defend explosive plays against the pass, you're going to have that. No, yeah, okay. Okay, not Sanders. Okay. So DeJean is most on a corner. I think Green Bay's going to view him as a do-it-all, and that's what's really good. Adam doesn't want Goot to go. Adam doesn't think Goot goes tackle. And FM Rolf says, who is the best speed edge guy in this draft? The best speed edge. It's probably, if you're talking about speed in terms of like explosiveness and bend around the edge, it's probably Turner. Chop Robinson's really explosive though. There's some talented guys at edge. Gabriel Murphy's really intriguing. The grades are really, really good here, right? And he's at that. If he's around that 260 range, I think he's still in play. Okay, so if you mean that, then it's probably Turner or Chop Robinson right now. I think you're looking at those two as your super souped up types. I mean, Verse has a ton of explosiveness that he turns into power and Latu's just a technician. This is the thing, though. The baseline tackles. Rasheed Walker's playing well. Is he going to be the franchise left tackle? I don't know. But he's playing well recently, and that's and so that maybe discourages tackle a little bit. But here's the best part about this, okay? So I know Brian's in here and he was talking about this. Okay. There's a chance that there will be teams that see positional flexibility with Troy Fatanu. 6'4", 317. Younger guy, junior. I know somebody brought that up. I think Green and Gold Draft Report brought it up. They go young at the position. So this has this potential guard tackle flexibility with Fatanu really makes things interesting here. Okay. Could both be available in the first. It's possible. I feel like Dallas Turner, if they're picking 11th, is maybe a little out of their range versus potentially in range for them. Chop Robinson. I think they're going to have a point. If they're picking 11th, I think they're going to have probably 2 of those top 4 on the board. Are they going to like the medical stuff that's come up with Latu? Probably not. But, you know, that's really where, you know, I would lean to this point. So I feel like they're probably not going to be in on Latu, but that they're going to have a chance at some of these explosive pass rushers, and they might go that direction. Who knows? So Mitch says Ellis would be interesting. Yeah, Ellis got some talent, folks. He played well this year, and the biggest thing, though, yeah, this is the deal right here, is the size. Is he going to be, even if they kind of, that's a good comment. Even if they kind of like go, okay, a little bit lighter at pass rusher, would they go this light? I think is a question you have to ask. So he's a junior though. He is young. Like this is interesting. And I'm not sure they're done at edge, right? I don't know if they're necessarily done at edge. So he's in play. My question to you guys, okay? And Evan brings this up, you know, I think serviceable's the new well for left tackle. I think it's going well. And as Omer puts it, Walker's max is out, you know, $2 million. Bach is 37.5 mil. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, we're kind of looking at where tackle might not be in play, but guard could be. There's also Quinion Mitchell here if they want to make sure they get a corner. Like 2 years of elite play. 2 years of elite play. Now it was against the MAC, and he played against Illinois, and the grade wasn't exceptional, but like ball production is really good. So they could go corner here. Corner gets a little thin to me. But yeah, Adam points out Ellis being a little small. Avon says can never get enough. Draft an extra kidney for Musgrave is very funny. Yeah, he had a great week last week, like Omer points out. So if they need tackle, are they gonna wait? They seem to be a team that's often waiting at tackle. So let's make a call here. Omer says a prominent center. I just feel like if they're gonna go prominent center, we can talk about it. Oh crap. This is your guy, I think, right here. Because I think he's well rounded as a player. Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon. I think he's center 1 to me at this point. He has 2 seasons of really nice play. And you can see, I mean, he's basically playing for the most part center. He locked in there. He has some reps at guard. So we'll see. This is a really good. I like this comment. I think this is funny. So where am I? First round's tough. Luckily, we're at pick 39, so we're not in the first. Omer wants tackler center. Brian W brings up center and guard. Adam doesn't want the MAC, the cornerback from the MAC. That's fair. I mean, not even from the MAC. We're right here with TJ Tampa, who had a really good 2022 season. Has a lot of size, has enough speed, I think, the corner position that they would like. So TJ Tampa could be in the mix. Green Bay obviously picks right away at 43. So let's hammer something out here. Let's get a pick on the board. Walker's upside, really good swing tackle, says Brian Mafia, or decent starting right tackle. All right. I'm gonna make the executive call here. I think they're gonna like positional flexibility to me. And like getting a guy like Fatanu here, I think is probably the direction we're going to go because it gives you options. So I know people aren't going to want that. I know people like Rasheed Walker. Is Chris Jenkins actually finally gone for once? He isn't. Chris Jenkins is here. He is here. He's right here. He's available. I know people aren't going to like me doing this, but I think, and Brian says Mitchell's a beast. He's really good, and I know Omer wants the run stuffer. Sauce came out of the AAC at Cincinnati, so they were in the American Athletic with like Memphis and Tulane and all those guys. So not quite the MAC. But I know people are talking about from the MAC at corner. They don't like that idea, but I think I'm gonna lean Fatanu because I like what's available. I think they're gonna like him as a positionally flexible player. So I think Adam, we have talked about him a lot as like this really nice floor run defender who, can unlock a lot of things as a 3-time player. But that's the important thing, Brian. We don't necessarily have to take him as a tackle here. We can take him as a positionally flexible player. So, but let's do this because I like some of the tackles still on the board. So I want to grab the corner here. Let's go from the MAC. Let's go Quinyon Mitchell. We're going double DB to start this draft. And Brian's going to be really upset because Patrick Paul just went. And I think that's who Brian wanted at tackle. So I think that's probably where he wanted to go. And he's not available, and Fatanu still is. But I do think I think this is somebody they're going to be interested in. Green Bay is, because the measurables look really good here. This is exactly the type they like, and yeah. Let me see here. This is a good one. Yeah, I mean, I think the defense needed work. We got 2 DBs back there. I really like that. Brian's fine with a tackle. I think just Brian's talking about like Fatanu isn't quite their measurables at tackle. At 6'4", 319, right? He's a little bit shorter than they like at the position. Or we looked at that last week on the show where it was a lot of taller players, more in this range, especially when you look at what they like. This is a young player in Sua Mataia who has declared 6'6", 315. This feels like the player right here to pick. And I know it's early, and I know it says rank 72, but I think we need to get ahead of the curve here. And I know people bring up Tyler Guyton, and they're like really good athleticism, right? The size is pretty good at 6'7". He's pretty big. He's a little bit bigger than they like at the position. But there you go. I know he meant Fatanu, but yeah, I think he would step in at right guard. We still could take him. Omer, I just appreciate you showing up, man. It's good. It's good to have you. Is he heavy-footed? I assume that's. Adam, does that mean? Oh, yeah. It doesn't seem. This is a good point. Arm length doesn't seem that way. It does seem like they're just like around that 32 3/4 to 33 1/2. They haven't gone like the huge, the really long type of players at the position, which is interesting. But they have. I mean, I don't know. They don't have like they're in like 34-inch arms types here. I mean, they've gone pretty light when you kind of look at what they've done. Like the arm lengths that they've a lot of, 32 1/4. Elton Jenkins was the big one. Like he had 34-inch arms, but for the rest, I mean, Royce Newman was 32 1/4. Ryan was 32 3/8. They have seemed to make, usually other than exceptions, they've kind of stayed towards 33 with a lot of their linemen, but they haven't gone super long. So 33 is really their I think their cutoff for the most part. So, I mean, Tom's arm length was 33 1/4. So that's still above that 33. That's still that threshold of 33. Where Fatanu doesn't have quite that length, I think you look elsewhere. But so we need a Keanu Benton. I've got a guy for that, I think. So early middle rounds. I've got the player. We might need to take him here, but they're short, but they're not super short. I think is the biggest thing. His freaks, the physical attributes. I think we've got him with DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell right here. So it was 33 and a quarter for Balaga. There you go. Like I said, yeah, for Elton Jenkins had 34-inch arms. And Green and Gold Draft Report saying they've hung on to Caleb Jones for 2 years for a reason. It's possible. It's possible. So if we don't go that direction, if we don't want to go tackle, okay? I want to bring this name up because I don't think he's going to be down here this far. Byron Murphy's insanely good. I don't know why he's down that far. His pass rush win rate's insane for defensive tackle. Could go this route, 6'1", 308, junior as well. Really like the film there. But yeah, what do we think? Would they dare? Would they dare to take Keon Coleman here? Maybe. But I think the other name I want to bring up here really quick before we start making some picks is Edgerrin Cooper from Texas A&M. I think we have to go DB. The great news is that we have 2 DBs already on in DeJean, in Quinyon Mitchell. We've taken a corner and we've taken a safety slot hybrid type of player. So Omer likes Caleb, T-Rex arms. Yeah, I don't think Coleman will be there. But I do at Brian. I'll be honest with you. I think this is a better range for him to me. I much rather take him as a second round type of player right now. If they don't Omer, but that would be a luxury selection. If Coleman's there, you have to grab him. That's just true. And I think just try and stay more predictive here. We're going to try and stay away from that type of selection because I think we know he's probably not going to happen. Mike Witt says trade up and draft Joe Alt. It's a fun scenario. We haven't taken that scenario. We've gone to Gene and Quinyon Mitchell, so we've gone 2 DBs to this point. Brian, I'll be honest, I don't think I was necessarily super on it. I think he did really well against LSU, but I don't know if there was a lot of completely consistent play after that game where I was like, oh, wow. Like Neighbors was always wide receiver 2 for me. I was never Coleman over Neighbors or Dunze, believe it or not. But I liked what I saw, and I was excited about potential ascension. And there's just a few things where I go, especially Brian, winning 10 of 31 contested balls for a contested catch monster that he's been labeled to be. That's not great. And I know that you have to look at all of them and kind of put it in context of like, were they good throws? It's not always necessarily true, but I don't know. The vibes are weird, and I don't like the receivers with weird vibes. Concern me. Brian Thomas available? He is, I believe, available. No, he has not. He's not available. Interesting. How high did Brian Thomas go? He went 24th. Now we could be the first team to take a running back, but I think we do that in the 3rd. So let's make the executive call here. I'm gonna get offensive line, but I'm not gonna draft Fatanu because like I said, I don't think we're gonna go there. Ah, man, I want to draft Byron Murphy, but I feel like let's go Fatanu for positional flexibility. Okay. So we'll do that. Always best man on the board. Oh, nice. You're at that draft. That's pretty cool. If you found Packers fans, I wonder how the Van Ness pick. If we want to go linebacker, we can go linebacker. Running back will be taken care of. There are a lot of those. I am the leader of the Aduns I train. There's no doubt about it. I don't know, Brian. I think I might be rolling with all the Neighbors folks very, very soon. So let's get positional flexibility. Well, let's take Fatanu here, just because he's here. Maybe he won't be. But I think we're probably looking linebacker at some point here, but I wanted to grab offensive lineman with positional flexibility. Probably slides into right guard, and maybe we go there. Okay. Cooper is a better react guy. Edgerrin Cooper. Yeah, Cooper's really good. He's really good. Omer says prefer to chase a running back in free agency. Sure wouldn't draft one high. Yeah, we're waiting until the 3rd round. I just don't think there's anyone. So Neighbors or a Doomsday Hive? Yes, both. Both. They need a premier back if they walk away from Jones. Here's the thing, and I know trade it for Project QB. Well, they got value, like, so can never have enough projects. Yeah, no, it's true. So this is where the running back talk, I think you start to have it, right? Trey Benson here, Audric Estime, Marshawn Lloyd, Braylon Allen could definitely go that route of like, okay, he was just not, the scheme didn't fit him at all last year, which I think is very true. We're waiting on a Henderson declaration. I believe Estime's in. So we could go that route as well. If we went interior defensive line, I don't know if he's still here. Oh my gosh, he is. Wow. This would be insane, honestly, because I think Byron Murphy's legitimately a top 25 probably player in this draft. I don't think he'll be here. Like, this is ridiculous how good he was this year. 4 games with an 88 or above. The dude was just cooking this year. So let's see. Standing on the table, now screaming the running back from Wisconsin. Mike Witt says safety's our biggest need. The good news, Mike, is that we went Cooper DeJean in the first round to play safety, some slot, do a lot of things. So we got a couple Braylon Allens. Mitch says Benson. Omer wants to chase running back in the third. We can do that. I think Dylan scares Green Bay off Allen. That's fine. We can. I think we can go a different direction than Braylon Allen this time, because we did go Braylon Allen in the last one. Brian, I need this guy. Who is this? Wax is an underrated linebacker. He might not be on this board. I assume he's not on the board. Brian, how do you feel about Tyron Hopper? I know the grades don't look. Oh, he's a little bit small. Never mind. I take back everything I said just now. Don't worry about it. Now, this could be interesting as Peyton Wilson, but obviously there's injuries to look at here. But he's 238 pounds. He's close to where Walker is. He's had good games. Coverage grades pretty darn impressive for a linebacker of that size. Marlowe Wax, linebacker from Syracuse. Okay. Yes. No, you're good, Mike. You're good. You can go back. You can obviously go back once the stream is done and see us pick DeJean, but we did grab a safety early. We're going to play him there, I think. And yeah, we'll cook with that. As a Badger fan, Allen is way too injury prone. Okay. Is there another Carlson brother? Allen always looks hurt. They needed someone who can get them a yard. All right. I think linebacker is going to be potentially in play for them, but let's stay away from it now. Yeah, this is the deal. Injury history. He's also a little bit older for sure. A center to push Myers. I just don't know if they're going to move off Myers. Sometimes they get a little bit in their own way. Like a Zach Frazier, maybe 6'3", 310 junior. That's big enough. I just don't know if they're going to do the center thing in this draft. I don't know if they are. If they do, it might be a lot further down the line to the point where they go. So I don't, it's possible. Let's do the first thing I want to do here. I want to point this out really quick. Like I said, I would take Byron Murphy here for sure because he's way too talented to be here. But I'm going to project ahead here a little bit and say he's not going to be available. So we're not going to pick him. He's not going to be available, in my opinion. Let's go Trey Benson. Let's start the running back train off really quick here. Love the size, love the burst, right? 6'1", 223, 21.4 years old. That's really nice. They get a young player in the building at running back. I really like Benson. Let's go that here. So we'll do that. One more year with Josh. I know Green Gold Draft Board's big on Allen, the outside zone blocking. We're going to go Benson this time. Yes, I think it's fair to say that Myers is playing better, but he hasn't lived up to his potential. And yes, AFM, he is bigger. He was a bigger dude at center. They like bigger players, right? They do probably weren't in on a guy like Linderbaum, who was, 295, right? Saying we need to stay away from that. It's possible. I just don't know what they're going to do at center. That is the biggest question mark for me right now. Brian says Frazier might not test well enough. Yeah. Do you have someone who will? Right. I don't know if you see everybody on the board. Well, okay. So there is this possibility, right? Where, and a lot of people are seeing Benson doing well. Mitch says Tom will move to center if they draft a tackle. It's possible. Mike Witt wants Caleb Jones to push for playing time. Maybe so. Just needs to be not so heavy footed, I think, is the one question mark. But everybody loves the Benson thing. What do we say about this guy at center? I know Brian Maffey's big on this. 6'2", 313, insanely good quicks. If you really look at him as a whole, good zone blocker, right? And I think he's a really, really good pass blocker in terms of mirror skills, in terms of quicks, in terms of the anchor, in terms of body positioning, right? Flexibility. He does so much well, to where now you have a pretty positionally flexible offensive line behind you, right? You have Walker at left tackle. You have Fatanu who can play out there. Zach Thomas played left tackle. So you have a lot in the tackle room, right? Fatanu can kick inside, but maybe we like him out there. Christian Haynes can play center, can play guard, I think. And I think there's still projection to put in a little bit in terms of playing center, right? Because he's literally played all of his snaps, over 2,400 of them, at right guard. But we could do that. And then we pack away offensive line, we call it a day, and we get out of here. Let's just do that. I think it's a really solid pick to really fix the offensive line. Yeah, this is the good point, right? Like, they can't draft anyone who can run block. That's why Fatanu's perfect. Fatanu grades out horribly as a run blocker. It's great news. So Mike Witt says if they switch up defensive scheme, they might need to go defense heavy. We've gone 2-2 so far, right? You don't want 5, but here's the good news is with Haynes is he's played right guard. That's where the need is, and he can push him in there right there. And it's immediate and it's a fix. I'm going to do it. Let's do it. Let's roll. And then it's going to be a lot of defense, I think, the rest of the way as we traverse through this mock. But I'm going to take Christian Haynes because I think it makes sense. Got the 2 offensive line picks. They're out of the way. And I think we roll from there. Now, got to look at probably some defensive line, look at edge rusher, right? I think there's a lot to look at there. Maybe a second safety. Maybe we want to go the Bo Braid route, right? If we want to do that, I'm down. A lot of reps at deep safety in 2022 where he played better ball, right? So that's plenty to look at. Defensive line is definitely still on the menu for sure. So Omer says, yeah, he would love to see guys both sides that are really good at both things. I think I agree in that respect, right? So can that happen this year? That would be good. So AFM says you should have one starter that has good position flexibility. It's on the coaches to make sure the backups are flexible. Yeah, no, this is good. I think with the Haynes pick, it's either you're pushing the chips in and saying, okay, he can play center and guard. We know he plays guard already. We're fine with that. I think he's going to get looks at center and Mobile when he's down there for Senior Bowl. At least I think he's going to be down there. That's why I feel like he had the invite or not. Wow, maybe I'm losing it, but like Haynes, I think is either you plug him in, or you can plug him in at right guard. Fatanu can plug in at left tackle. We've really only played there, so I think NFL teams are looking at them to be positionally flexible. They're not necessarily positionally flexible to this point, but you look at projection. You're playing the projection game a little bit too. So we've got a running back in Trey Benson. I know D-line is still on Mitch's priority list and probably on theirs as well. And Brian Maffey's going to be on Bo Braid, right? They did give up 200 plus against the run. So let's look, because we got 2 picks in the 4th, potential compensatory selection that they're projecting. I think that if you want the run defense mixed in everything type of player, it's right here. Okay, it's right here with Tyler Davis. Not the biggest, but does everything very well. So if we want to do that, I think that's where you start. I think you get a really solid player, right, to mix in with this defensive line. Let's do that. Naz Stackhouse is interesting because there's a lot of traits. There's a lot of size there. But let's do that. Let's roll Tyler Davis. on the defensive line with that pick there, and let's keep rolling. I know Brian wanted Bo Braid. I'm pretty sure he's probably gone by now, which stinks. But I think there's other talent. I'm probably going to have to maybe roll at safety again, but maybe not. It seems like Green Bay doesn't love the safety position necessarily. Yeah, we're gonna have to, right? You're gonna have to have people, dominate as run blockers at some point. There has to be a little bit of a tweak there in terms of change. We'll see if they do that this go around, because I know the offense is doing really well right now. Like, especially when you look at DVOA in the passing game, EPA per play in the passing game, like they're hitting some big stuff a lot. Mike Witt says his draft crush is Joe Alt. Yeah, I think Joe Alt's very much in the tackle one conversation for sure. Maybe we should. AFM says we should let Goot suit up for us at safety so we can understand the position better. That's funny. Mike Witt says blocking tight end to go with Kraft and Musgrave. I think Tyler Davis comes back, right? And he comes back at tight end, and then obviously we have another one now at defensive tackle. So two of those guys in the building makes a lot of sense. I know there was a shout for Ray Davis. I think that's interesting. I think the grade is really good. Could look linebacker here as well for some depth. Cedric Gray, a lot of length to his game. 235 is decently big. And yes, Sims, I think, is showing. I think the tight end room feels really good. I think it's really good right now. Mitch says who's left at receiver. We could take a look there. I think adding speed to the receiver room still is something they might look at. But there's a chance, they just kind of leave it and let everything roll out. Yeah, I'm Brian, I'm kind of with you here. So Omer says DeGuara has to go, another third round flop. Yeah, I think he's probably done. And Brian says Gray. I think we're going to do that. I think we're going to go with Cedric Gray. We'll look at receiver a little bit later down the line. We'll look at running back again later down the line. Not receiver. I clicked on receiver. Let's get Cedric Gray, because I think I still think there's a potential possibility they look into linebacker, and I think Cedric Gray is probably the best still available here. So Omer says DeGuara, Savage, and JRJ got to go. Yeah. Punt returner to keep 11 healthy. Here's the deal. Cooper DeJean probably going to be looked at to return some punts as well. So, and Ryan will get the chance to start even in this mock, but we added Christian Haynes. I think that's going to be a good add for Green Bay there. So now got to look at safety still, right? Got to look there a little bit, potentially. Probably need to still look at corner. Not a lot of names left. Jabbar Muhammad, interesting name there. Chow Smith Wade is very undersized, but this could be the slot player. Coverage grade good, but not a great run defender. So yeah, Brian thinks Campbell's gone. Quay's been iffy. Yeah, I think, Brian, to me, Quay is so close, but then you just look at consistency and it just hasn't quite been there. It was not a great game against Tampa Bay for him, especially in coverage. It just feels like a player like that should be able to handle some of the duties they gave him in coverage, and he just didn't. So yeah, that was tough to see. I think they got to get a corner here, and I feel like there's just not a lot of sides. Like Grimes, I feel like there's a little bit. Cypress might be enough here. I do think the third round curse feels like it might be done, which is good news. Brian likes Muhammad. Campbell, Preston, and Jones, all 30 big salary, big cap hits. It never bodes well. It does not. No. I like I said, I think they're going to be in on linebacker. Freddie Roper wants middle linebacker. We did just get one in Cedric Gray from North Carolina. Really exciting. 14 draft picks is interesting because, yeah, we got a lot of them. They might be moving up sometimes to get some guys. And AFM Ralph said we should have drafted Leo Chanel. That would have been a really fun pick for sure. Jabbar Muhammad intrigues me. There's 4 picks left in this mock. I think we need to get more running back. I think Rasheen Ali is somebody I would be looking at just over the size thresholds. So it's not 14, it's 11. Okay, that sounds more likely. I think so. Wait, there's 5, 2 in the fourth. We picked one more time. So yeah. Um, my bet is Omer thinks LVN's going to get Preston's job. AFAM, we do still have a lot of picks. So Brian says it's 11. That might be 12 with the projected compensatories. I'm not sure. Mike Witt says Tankathon Mock has us drafting JC Latham. Doesn't seem right to me. They've never liked, bigger 330 plus at tackle. Hasn't been their MO. They haven't gone that big with that kind of size at the position. They like tall. They don't necessarily like the 330, 340-pound guys. It's just not their MO. So I just don't think a Latham or a Fuaga are going to be who Green Bay picks. I think it's going to be edge or corner right now. Maybe they roll Jerzon Newton. So one from Jets, one from Bills, 3 comps. There you go. Okay. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of running back. Let's grab one more corner for the scheme. I think Jabbar Muhammad plays really competitive ball from Washington. You'll get a good look at him in the playoff. He might declare in this cornerback class. So let's go here. So like I said, we got 3 defensive backs, which is what we needed to get for this team. I think there's a chance they go a little cheaper at safety for that second spot. And there you have it. This would be, I think, a really good one. And I think Brian could chime in about this. Darius Robinson being the pick. His grades look really good. He's in this kind of tweener type of range that Green Bay likes along the defensive line. So it's very possible. Jones, the injury is likely undoing in Dilling's 3-yard average. Yeah, so I think they're going to go running back, right? We got 3 more picks. We're going to get a running back, but I think Darius Robinson would be really exciting. Green and Gold Draft Board says Quay is playing injured right now. I'm not a fan of Quay at inside. He'd be great at outside in 4-3. Yeah, so I mean, there you go. I think it gives, right, so we grab Cedric Gray. Maybe Campbell stays in this scenario, or maybe they roll with McDuffie and they roll cheap. I think that it gives, I didn't mean to jump in. He needs to be, I think, right, he doesn't have quite the hand usage, right, when he's rushing as outside linebacker, but he's definitely got the speed to make it happen. That's why I think Edgerrin Cooper, if they move to a 4-3, becomes really interesting from Texas A&M in the top 50. 11 with 3 projected compensatory. Okay. I don't know. Whatever the number of picks is, not a big deal. But I think I think they're going to still roll with Quay playing inside linebacker, and then they've got Cedric Gray right there. So, yeah. Let's do it, Brian. Let's roll with it. I think Darius Robinson, a 5 tech with a ton of size, right? 6'5", 296, adds more competitiveness to the defensive line room, and it has some good run stop rate for a guy who's 6'5", 296. So let's add him here, and then we'll draft another running back. Let's get another running back to the room. I'm leaning between Ali from Marshall. Not the best elusive back, but I think, you look at Blake Watson, who is, a lot of speed, a lot of explosiveness, a little undersized, but, I think could be, a fun player to add to the room. Isaiah Davis has obviously been elite in a lot of what he's done at South Dakota State. Another great player with plenty of size. So we could go either direction there at running back. Brian doesn't want McDuffie to be a starter. Well, yeah, we need Paul here for sure. Yeah, Missouri's playing well. And I agree. Robinson is really rocked up at 290. So I think, yeah, it's been a while for Missouri. It has been a long time. So, yeah, Ali's 2022 numbers are really good. Let's go him. Let's take Rasheen Ali. That'll be the 2 running backs for Green Bay. And then we got one more pick left at any position we'd like. And, yeah, there are some options here. You could get like a Bryson Nesbitt to play some receiver. I know somebody was asking about Hayden Hatton, redshirt junior, but this would be a fun thing to do with Sweat and Slayton because you've got big at the defensive line. It's just they don't often go that way. You've kind of seen their philosophy with defensive line. They love these pass rushing types, these tweener types like Robinson we just drafted. So I take a healthy Campbell and Quay with Wilson McDuffie. Well, we added Cedric Gray in that scenario here, a Desmond Bishop type linebacker. That'd be nice for sure. Love a better downhill player. Maybe they'll get a Jeremiah Trotter. Peyton Wilson from North Carolina State plays like that. It's just about, injuries, and he's a little bit older, like 24. So yeah, it's just Sweat just isn't quite their type. But I think we got some dogs on this team with this draft. So whatever we want to do late in this draft, I'm down for. If Toure, we don't like Toure, could go. There's not a lot of receivers left on this board. Let's go. Screw it. I'm gonna grab receiver. I'm gonna grab receiver. Hayden Hatton with plenty of size, 2.72 yards per route run at Idaho. Great drop rate. Cam Ward is still available, but I just don't. I think I'm gonna play the game of predictive here, where he's just not. He's going somewhere, I think, and he's gonna play for QB1 in 2025. No, I get what you're saying, Mitch. I just don't know if they're going to completely shift the priorities necessarily just yet, because it's at least working in some of it. And there you go. Yeah. I mean, I would take the flyer on QB. Ward is in the portal, though. If we want to take QB flyer, I mean, there's not a lot left, unfortunately. Let's take the receiver and Hayden Hatton. Let's have some fun. Let's get some more size at the position, and we round our draft out there. Yeah, I'm not sure. It just feels like he's probably not declaring. So Mike Witt says in the second, Tankathon has us drafting Cam Kinchens and Denzel Burke. So it was safety, corner, and offensive line, which is, Mike, what we actually did. And I really don't. These grades to the side, I'm not really concerned about them. So, is what it is. We got those three positions, though, with those Tankathon projections. These are the same. So we go Cooper DeJean in the first. And I don't think corner is going to be the designation for him. You're going to move him to safety. Maybe you let him play the slot. Quinion Mitchell is definitely playing on the perimeter. You get some really nice elite ball production and play out of him. Fatanu, tackle, who gives you guard positional flexibility. Trey Benson, who is really the tone-setting guy now. Ton of size, ton of burst at running back. You get Christian Haynes, plugs in at right guard. Tyler Davis gives you some run defense stuff, and he's a little more of an anchored player on early downs. Cedric Gray gives you more linebacker help, which you definitely need. Jabbar Muhammad, another corner to pair on the outside, gives you some more talent and competitiveness there. Darius Robinson, 6'5", 296, 5 tech, a lot of juice in both in both run defense and pass rush. Really like that. And Rasheen Ali's, as Brian hinted at, 2022 for Ali was really, really good at Marshall. And then you get a guy with size and some speed at receiver and Hayden Hatton. So there you go. AFM Rolf says, let's trade up for that big dude from Illinois. I know you're talking about Jerzon Newton, 6'2", 295 from Illinois. He's a stud. He'll probably be available at 11 if they want to go that route. So, yeah. Keith Randolph is the other big guy from Illinois who will be at the Senior Bowl. He'll probably be more of a mid-round pick. That's the good thing, with all that capital, can move up and down. There's going to be something with that. I think he's not going to stand pat with all these selections, but it's nice to give you a nice little look here at, I think, 3 defensive backs, which I think is very much in the realm of possibility. They might not go 2 offensive linemen in the top, 85. That might be a little bit rich for them. They might go linebacker, defensive line, right? I think those are in play, but I do think a running back comes off with one of their first 5. You hit on the defensive line on day 3, along with linebacker, get some more help on the offensive side at the skill positions. So I think this is a decent look at, like, positionally how things could work out. But again, like I said, maybe it's not 2 offensive linemen in the first 5. But there you go. Mitch says, how is Benson a 75? At 75, a C-. It is this. The PFF doesn't value a lot of, like, they value picking well on their board, and positionally, They value certain ones over others, which is totally fine. That's why Fatanu is an A here, picking a tackle at 38 or at 43, where he was valued at 38. That's why he's getting a good grade. They value Benson at 102. They just don't value running backs, right? Like that's just not something they do. They don't value linebacker, right? And if you don't play to their board, they don't like your picks. Like they don't value the guard pick of Haynes a lot at 82, even though it's right around where you go, because it's not a valuable position to them. So it is what it is. The PFF grades don't really worry me that much. If you put in some draft, like if you put in PFF's grade for the Lions draft with what they did, right? Picking a running back at 12, linebacker at 18, tight end at 34, and then a safety slot corner at 45, they're giving that an F because it's not, none of the positions are positionally valuable enough to them, even though that draft is looking just fine for the Lions. So it's PFF's grading scale. So I think NFL doesn't anymore, but that will change. I don't know if they're going to value running backs a ton, but they're going to value getting a lot in the room at cheap. What do I think of Burke? I think he's fine. I think there's just some things in coverage to iron out. He plays with, I think he's a good intimidator. He plays with good competitiveness at corner. I just don't think he's fully there as a coverage player just yet. I think they got to get a bona fide stud. I think Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo falls into there. The Bama guys are good. If they want one, they're gonna have to get one early, and I think they will, because I think when you look at the depth of the class at corner, it doesn't look super good right now. The coaching staff, yeah, I get it. It's the scheme change is going to dictate a lot of what they do on defense in the draft. So, yeah, 5 picks in the top 100. There are some holes, but I think we can figure it out. So, I'm excited to see how Green Bay attacks this offseason and draft. So the defense definitely needs some work. We did get an inside linebacker, Mike, in Cedric Gray from North Carolina there. Mike Hebring just dropped in. I'll add this back so you can see, Mike, what we did in the draft here in this mock for you. Yeah, and there you go. Brian W. says they gave us an F for Christian Watson. I don't think that pick's been an F to this point. Mike Hebring, appreciate the super chat for the $2. Any chance Keon Coleman in the second? I don't think so. I know PFF has him in like the 30s, 40s right now in terms of where they're ranking him. I think he's going to maybe be just outside. We'll see where he grades for me. I don't think he'll be available there. That's probably where I'd value him a little bit more, though. I'm not sure it's going to happen. I just think that size, I think there's enough explosive twitch there with him as a player. And really, he has unlocked, he has shown that he's got some slipperiness and elusiveness after the catch. He's a good blocker. I think that someone's going to value him highly enough to take him in the first round. So I would probably say no. But again, you never know. But to me, the probability Coleman's going to be a first-round guy. Yeah, Omer, definitely. All a crapshoot. Doesn't matter where they drafted. It's about finding the right guys who will play, with the attitude, the leadership, and come in and want to be great from day one. This is fair on Benson's scheme fit. Green and Gold Draft Report doesn't love the scheme fit. It's definitely run with a lot of, they did run a lot of gap stuff at Florida State. I think that's fair to look at, and I think that's why I think you calling for Braylon Allen makes sense for sure. I think there are a lot of other guys, though, that are going to get looks, but yes, in zone, you're going to have some better feel. I think Benson can get there, but Green Bay has also run some gap stuff. They aren't fully 100% zone running, so that's something to monitor as well. They do have some gap runs in their scheme baked in, so I think Benson can thrive in that regard. We'll see. I think he can get to it. It doesn't mean he can't become a great zone runner, but I think this is a fair criticism of the draft per se. Yeah, Omer, I think you hit it on the head. Goody just needs to keep that momentum. Keep drafting like it's 2022 and 2023 and not and 2019 again, not bad. I'll take it. But yeah, I hopefully he continues this run. Top needs are safety and right guard to replace Runyon. Great news, Mike. We got him here. Cooper Jean's going to play safety. And then you got Christian Haynes down here from Connecticut to play right guard, where he has played his entire career at Connecticut. Can't go wrong with defensive linemen that were single digits. Hey, Jerzon Newton's a dog. He's really, really good. Had his best games this year against Wisconsin and Penn State, the top competition they faced. He's incredibly explosive, flexible, and you're going to be able to just rush him from a 3-tech a lot in the NFL, and just let that flexibility, that explosion, the ability to bend the corner a little bit, right? Really combative and well-timed hand usage at contact. He's a really good pressure player. He can play some one gap and run defense. That's really where he's going to be, though. He's going to be the pass rusher on your defensive line. Omer says, run stuffer above all else. I think that's what Tyler Davis from Clemson provides you there in round 4. Mike Witt still likes Tom's best position at center. That's fair. Center was one of the interesting positions to watch this offseason. I just feel like they may bring in competition for Myers, but feels like they're going to ride that contract out. If Coleman runs 4.3 to 4.4, he goes top 20. Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure. Maybe even higher. Omer likes Tom at center. AFM wants to put Omer out there on the offensive line. Yeah, and there you go. They did change up a little bit for AJ. So maybe they'll mix stuff in for somebody like Benson, but if they go Benson and Braylon Allen, you got some flexibility there on what you're run. Maybe they will draft him. It's entirely possible they draft him. It's not impossible. So Omer wants trenches filled. Yeah, I mean we picked 4 guys in the trenches. Got Robinson there, got Davis, Haynes, and Fatanu. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're gonna do. I think, Mike, there's a chance you can have Kraft kind of be that fullback a little bit for you. Obviously DeGuara has the experience there, but that's it is something to look at. If they're going to kind of be this cyclical league where you're going to go back to the run game a little bit more, I think that's something to definitely look into. Mitch says, when is the Senior Bowl? The Senior Bowl starts. It starts. I think the first practice is the 30th of January. I think that's a Tuesday, if I remember correctly. I'm going to bring up the calendar just to check. Yeah, 30th of January is the first practice. Last practice is Thursday, February 1st. They do that, I'll be happy. Yeah, I think they're going to get trenches. That's for sure. How about a 4-3 defense? We did talk about this a little bit at the beginning. I think that's very possible that they do that. I think that a 4-3 is within the realm of possibility. It sounds like Staley and LaFleur don't mesh really well, but they could still kind of stick with the scheme they're in. So that's going to dictate a little bit of how they might attack the draft as well. So yeah, we'll be able to see that. And we bend don't break is broken, especially against run teams. Yeah, there's going to be some changes. So we will definitely see that. Green Gold Draft Port, great to have you on. I hope you have a Merry Christmas as well. We're nearing 2 hours, folks, so I'm going to probably hop off here. Appreciate y'all checking in. Appreciate Green and Gold Draft Port and Mike Hebring, a.k.a. Packer Superfan, who dropped some super chats. That is much appreciated. Really like that. I'll hang around here and finish up some of these quick questions before we go. But if you're heading out, enjoy your Christmas, enjoy your Hanukkah, your Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating during the holidays. Enjoy your new year. We're gonna be back next Friday though. And we'll probably won't go through another mock, but we'll maybe talk. Let's do this. We'll be through 16 weeks. We'll talk about some of the rookies, how they've looked. I'll kind of get into the film and assess some of that, maybe the other young guys, and we'll talk about Packers from that perspective. And we'll still answer draft questions, of course. So there'll still be Q&A. Draft show only, not a Packers perspective draft show, but draft show as a whole is going to start soon. We'll see on the date, but it'll be up on the channel at some point. We'll have some guests and we'll have a good time there. So yeah, like and subscribe. For those who are interested, tomorrow, Rasheed Walker Film Room going live, as well as something on Trey McBride's rise with the Cardinals. We might have a little something for Christmas Day, so we'll see. But I will answer a few questions as we get on the out of here. What did you think of Van Ness before last year's draft? I thought he was exciting. I think I had an early round 2 grade on him. There was a lot of upside there, explosiveness, power, just not a lot of refinement, and he played a little out of control. I think it was just going to take some time. I think the Van Ness selection was a long play with a a swing at looking at, can he be the home run prospect? And I know that's just how they operate, right? And so they're going to take a swing at a young player, ascending talent with a lot of traits that they believe can refine it. So he was my edge 5, I believe, last year. So wasn't super thrilled with it necessarily, but I didn't necessarily hate the selection. It was very them going young at pass rusher. That's often what they do. So, I thought it was I thought it wasn't excellent, but I didn't think it was horrendous. So if you would have taken Newbin at 38 and DeJean plays corner, you have 2 great tacklers. Yeah, we definitely need tacklers, but we also got to cover, right? If you're going to be a more aggressive defense, right? If we're going to switch up that defense and be a little more aggressive, having a guy like Mitchell who can cover is going to be a big deal, right? And I don't think, and Mitchell, I think you can the way Mitchell plays in terms of coverage, I think he can adopt that attitude as a tackler as well. So I think we can get there with him. Right on. AFAM, appreciate you hanging out. Have you watched that cornerback I mentioned in the Discord? I have not watched him. I'm going to get on that, Brian. I know you've mentioned a lot of guys in our Discord that I will check out. Between now and the new year, there's not going to be a ton of content. I'm going to put out a couple things next week. I think there'll be something on Van Ness next week for sure. And then I'll probably throw out another Packer video of some sort. I haven't decided yet, but like I said, Rasheed Walker video tomorrow. Throw out a Van Ness. There's probably going to be maybe 4 or 5 videos before the new year, and then we'll really start with draft stuff, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So stick around for that. Omer says, hit like and subscribe. Appreciate another great show. Thank you, Omer, for tuning in. Adam says really quick how their offense trends to lighter lineman, big wide receiver, can't match up well with their offensive coach. Yeah, their offensive philosophy has worked well enough, but yeah, defense is just weird. Like you said, Mike Daniels talked about it. Coordinator, attitude, leadership, everything's changing and it's still not working. It's very strange. So I'm very happy holidays to you as well. Reed really reminds me of a young Antonio Brown. Really excited for his future. He's a heck of a player. He's having a great season. It's really exciting to see him potentially pass Sterling Sharp's receptions record. So yeah, thank you, Mitch, for showing up. Appreciate you. I really enjoy having you here. So it's awesome. You guys are excellent. So prepare for an awesome draft season because that's where we're headed. But would love to see the Packers pull these 3 games out and make the playoffs, perhaps. Yeah, it's a lot of outside zone, and then the receivers, they need to be able to block in that outside zone. So there's a lot of that. So yeah, for sure. It's not a terrible example. I mean, you could throw Randall Cobb out there, and he's done a really exceptional job. So run stuffer, please. Can't take another year of abysmal run defense. Hopefully they get there, Omer. Hayfan wants to spend a Jets pick on receiver. They could go speed at wide receiver. I think we mentioned Troy Franklin from Oregon, Xavier Worthy from Texas, Devontae Walker from North Carolina. Somebody I will be doing a film room on because he reminds me a lot of Christian Watson. So we'll have his film room out in January at some point. So that'll be fun to watch. I think he's someone to keep an eye on. All right, Brian, I will watch him to make sure because you mentioned him in the Discord for sure. Hamstring issues seem to be chronic in 2 seasons. Definitely. Absolutely. Surprised Watson didn't pull a Hemingway and Ray Simone. That would not great. Mitch, I have done a Wicks video. It was more about giving him more snaps. That came out. Oh boy. Let's take a look at when that came out. Mitch, really quick for you. That came out 2 months ago. So it was probably in October, Mitch, that I did it. I'll probably do an updated one on Wicks's rookie season. Like I said, I'll probably be doing. Like I said, I'm thinking of maybe I won't do Van Ness next week, and I'll just hit every rookie. Because I was gonna do Brooks. I want to find time, but maybe I'll just do all of them at the end of the season after week 18. So you have the full spectrum of okay, this is what they did well. What do they got to work on? But I have done something on Wicks. It was just something I think where I went through probably the first 5 or 6 games. It was he needs more snaps. So I'll probably hit, a full rookie review on him for sure. They need to fix this O-line, get a running back. Yeah, I think if they get better at running back, I think they're going to be really exciting. So, best part about Reed is Chicago converted to Wisconsin. Hey, love that for sure. Thanks for this. Thanks for showing up, Mike. Appreciate it. Can't wait for the next video. Yeah, like I said, Rasheed Walker tomorrow. For those interested, that should be up to watch. My opinion on Wicks, love him. Had him ranked higher than Reed, actually, in my rankings. Somebody I was extremely high on a summer ago, right? In the summer of 22. I was like, wow, this guy, top 6-7 receiver in the draft. And then he had a bad season. And then it was a little hesitant on him. I should have ranked him higher and should have believed the initial eye test from how good he was in 2021, because he was really, really good that year. Caught 57 for 1209 was insane. So yeah, they both have so much upside. And Omer says it right there. Yeah, Heath looks pretty good. He just got to be able to catch better in tight spaces and contested spots. That seemed to be a problem for him. You saw it, a little bit in the Saint game. You saw that from him. The Giant game, he didn't secure that first touchdown, but he bounced back. So I like what they have in Heath. He's exciting too. I think he kind of rounds out the room pretty well. Mike Witt says Wicks reminds him of rookie Devontae. Yeah, I mean, he and Brian puts this out too, though. Wicks could be better, is a better blocker than Tay, and that's, I think, a lot of why Green Bay was interested in him. He blocked his butt off, and yeah, Wicks could definitely be special. Mitch, yeah, it's probably just if you go to the videos tab, it's down a few rows, but you'll see it because it's around where I did the Musgrave one and the Packers offensive issues. But those seem to be corrected, which is good. Yeah, Wicks and Heath are good blockers. Touré's fine. I think Touré might be the odd man out by next off season and next training camp. Yeah, but Heath did well, and then that's somebody I'll probably have to do a filmer on as well, and just look at him as he becoming a piece for that locker room. So, and that receiver room, I'm really excited about that. Okay, well, if that's it, if that's all, yeah, Wicks. I got to see both Illinois games from Wicks, Brian, and they were excellent. So I very thrilled with what he put together. Like I said, had Wicks higher than Reed in terms of the grades. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Touré's a good blocker, but when they got a lot of good blockers in the building, like you said, Heath, Wicks, right? Obviously, Watson's good there. Dobbs will at least give his best effort. It just feels like Touré doesn't have especially Omer, if they draft speed at receiver in this offseason, like Touré is going to be odd man out, and so could Dubose. Obviously, we haven't talked a lot about Dubose because he hasn't, been involved, but another draft pick that they might take a peek at for depth. So yeah, we will see. Well, if that's going to do it, and like Omer said, wide receiver tight end rooms are definitely stacked. That's going to do it, I think, for you guys. I appreciate y'all sticking around for 2 hours. Hope you enjoyed the mock draft. We'll see you next Friday for sure. And like I said, keep hopefully you keep enjoying the content on the channel. Like I said, it's going to be a big undertaking on the channel this offseason in terms of taking a look at all the top prospects, at least from a strengths and weaknesses standpoint. There will be some film rooms. There will be a lot of like draft looks at like past classes and what's been going on with that. A lot on the channel to look forward to. I will say this channel will drop a 2-round mock draft, so you'll get to see 3 Packers picks on New Year's Day. So hopefully enjoy the New Year that way. Watch some playoff games because there'll be a lot of talent. Right, just look at the mock here that's on the screen. Troy Fautanu going to be there, right, in the playoff, right? You look at some of the Bama Michigan guys, right? I think probably put a show on Packernet of all of the guys you need to watch in that game. So if you follow the Packernet podcast feed, there will be something on that. But yeah, a lot coming. So I hope you guys stick around to like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys. Really quick on a few things. Yeah, Clark not his best year, so maybe they'll go younger. We'll see. Thank you, Adam, for showing up. Happy holidays to you as well. Thanks again, Omer, for showing up and watching and listening and participate in the chat. Like I said, all you guys, thank you so much. Obviously, thanks to the donos. We'll catch you guys for one more show live in 2023, and then we'll kick off 2024 in a big way. So thank you guys so much. I will catch you guys next Friday.